At this very moment, over 2,000 storms are ripping through the skies across the planet. Lightning crackles, thunder shakes the ground, and when nature decides to unleash its full fury, there's nowhere to hide. Some storms don't just make headlines, they leave scars. From winds powerful enough to tear off roofs like paper, to tornadoes ripping across highways at breakneck speed, here are the 5 most extreme storms caught on camera. When Hurricane Katrina slammed into New Orleans in August 2005, it didn't just bring wind and rain. It brought catastrophe on a scale no one was ready for. Entire neighborhoods vanished underwater, gone in the blink of an eye. Look at these scenes captured by a U.S. Navy plane. Homes, schools, entire city blocks swallowed by a 20-foot wall of water. Over 1,800 lives were lost. More than $160 billion in damages. The deadliest and costliest hurricane in U.S. history. But how did it get this bad? On August 23rd, Katrina started quietly, just a tropical depression over the Bahamas. But once it hit the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico, it exploded into a monster of Category 5 strength, with winds howling at over 170 miles per hour. By the time it made landfall near Buras, Louisiana, on August 29th, Katrina had weakened slightly to a Category 3. The winds were still so violent that they tore roofs from buildings, snapped power lines like twigs, and led debris to flow like deadly projectiles. One after another, levees that were supposed to protect New Orleans failed, and the water poured in. The city, built below sea level, had nowhere to drain. Within hours, 80% of New Orleans was underwater. People were trapped on their rooftops, waiting for help to arrive. This wasn't just a storm. This was the total breakdown of a city in real time. On November 8th, 2013, one of the most powerful storms ever recorded slammed into the Philippines.
Strongest typhoon so far this year is slamming the central Philippines today. It's being called one of the most powerful typhoons ever recorded.
Typhoon Haiyan, known locally as Yolanda, came in like a freight train from hell, with sustained winds over 155 miles per hour and gusts nearing 195. Roofs ripped off, trees uprooted, entire buildings folded like paper. In the city of Tacloban, it was total chaos. Sounds of glass shattering, debris crashing, walls crumbling, and the screams of families trapped inside their homes. Then came the storm surge. Walls of water up to 20 feet high, crashing into coastal towns like a tsunami. Streets turned into rivers, and cars floated like toys. When the winds finally died down, what remained was devastating. Tacloban resembled a war zone. Bodies lay along the roads, partially buried under debris. The air was thick with the smell of death. Communication systems were down, leaving people cut off from the outside world, and basic supplies like food and clean water were impossible to find. Typhoon Haiyan killed over 8,000 people and displaced millions. It was more than a bad storm. It was a humanitarian crisis on a scale the world hadn't seen in years. May 20th, 2013, Moore, Oklahoma. A massive EF5 tornado tears straight through the heart of the city. 2 miles wide and with winds screaming at 210 miles per hour. It stayed on the ground for 39 terrifying minutes and left nothing standing. Watch this dash cam footage.
Dash cam video of the May 20th tornado shows just how massive the twister was.
The sky turns black. Debris rains down like paper, and then it hits. Entire neighborhoods were leveled and homes obliterated. Hundreds of buildings were crushed beyond recognition. Cars were hurled, twisted, and stacked like toys. The destruction was complete, but the most heartbreaking scenes came from the schools. In the tornado's path stood Plaza Towers Elementary School. As the tornado closed in, teachers rushed children into hallways, into bathrooms, anywhere they could hide. But the roof collapsed and the walls caved in. Sadly, 7 children were killed. At nearby Briarwood Elementary, the building was destroyed too. Thankfully, there were no fatalities, but the terror was the same. In total, 24 lives were lost that day, and over 1,000 homes were destroyed. This tornado wasn't just powerful, it was merciless. September 2022, Southwest Florida.
And now weakened but still very powerful Hurricane Ian is raking across the state of Florida tonight. Almost 2 million customers have lost power. That number will surely rise.
Hurricane Ian slammed into the coast as one of the strongest storms Florida has ever seen, with winds nearing 160 miles per hour. But the real danger wasn't just the wind, it was the water. Storm surge crashed in, swallowing entire blocks. The city of Fort Myers Beach was hit especially hard. As the storm pushed water into the streets, homes began to break apart and drift away. The water kept coming, faster than most people imagined possible, cutting off escape routes and turning roads into rivers. On Sanibel Island, the causeway connecting it to the mainland collapsed, leaving the island completely isolated.
And in Sanibel Island, this time lapse actually shows storm surge here, making street signs almost disappear completely underwater in the area.
The aftermath was horrifying. Over 160 lives were lost, and tens of billions of dollars were caused in damages. But what set Hurricane Ian apart was the way it was captured. Unlike the older storms we've covered, this was in 2022. Nearly every moment was captured as it happened. We didn't just hear about the destruction, we saw it. Rooftop rescues filmed from helicopters, neighborhoods vanishing beneath drone cameras, and families broadcasting their fear in real time. Hurricane Ian didn't just hit Florida, it showed the entire world in real time what total devastation looks like. August 2017, Texas braces for impact. Hurricane Harvey made landfall near Rockport as a Category 4 hurricane, with winds reaching 130 miles per hour. But this storm wasn't just about the crazy wind. What came next was worse. Relentless, unending rain. The storm stalled over southeastern Texas and refused to move, dumping more than 60 inches of rain in some areas. Streets turned into rivers, highways disappeared, entire neighborhoods vanished beneath the water. In Houston, America's fourth largest city, people were rescued by kayak and fishing boat. Basically anything that could float. Look at this footage. Homes submerged, families wading through chest-deep water, carrying their belongings, their children, even their pets. Hospitals were evacuated. The power was out, and still the rain kept falling, with no end in sight. By the time it finally stopped, over 100,000 homes were damaged. More than 100 people lost their lives, and the total damage was over $125 billion, making Harvey one of the costliest natural disasters in U.S. history. If you thought these storms were crazy, just wait until you see this next video.